Hey, it's Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. Today's the 18th of July, 2017, and I've got a brief something today that I wished I didn't really have to, but I'm going to have to brief this. And I do this because the First Amendment says that I have the right to free speech, and our constitutional rights are really all we have. Without that limiting document, limiting our government, we would have nothing. And let me tell you about what happened yesterday. We got a letter over the weekend from the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. And this letter, I have all this right here, it stated that we were not going to be issued our license to operate our butcher shop here because we hadn't paid our fee, right, for the permit. So my wife went to the records, and there it was, the canceled check for $150, which when we started this was a mere $70. And so she called, and the lady said, well, on your file it says that you need to talk to Jim Padden, all right, and gave the telephone number. It's 231-590-0889. When my wife called Jim Patton, he stated that he was not going to issue our license because, in his words, we had refused an inspection. We had refused an inspection. So, let me take you down memory lane here. Back to 2015, the 17th day of December. 9 o'clock in the morning, I had 2 black sedans pull in here and 2 state police vehicles pull in. And my kids were like wide eyes open, and they pulled in really fast, and it didn't look good. And I had one lady get out of her vehicle that she had pulled in very, very quickly and hand me a search warrant. And apparently she had approached Judge Van Alst here in my county and gotten a search warrant because they thought that there was some illegal activity going on here. And when we inquired what the illegal activity was, it was that this picture had shown up in a magazine up in Traverse City, Michigan, right? And see that picture right there is a friend of mine. He's a chef, and he's posing with a ham that we made. And I didn't know hams were that important, but their question was that pig processed in a USDA plant, or was it processed here? And instead of them merely picking up the phone and asking me if it was, they decided to do a search warrant. And the search warrant was to look in my vehicles, my home, my records, and you know what that means. They take your cell phones, they take your computers, laptops and everything, they take it and they send it into forensics. And then in a couple of months, you might get it back. And they're gonna look for illegal hams on there, I guess. Where they could have just asked me, did you process it or did the USDA process it? Either way, it didn't warrant a search warrant into my home. I did not impede that search. If I did, you could find an arrest on me because the state policemen were right there. And if I impeded the search warrant that was issued by a judge, I would be arrested. And I was not, so I guess I didn't. I did however, ask them if they would wait a few minutes until some of my friends came to witness this search, because there was a whole cadre of black cars down in McBain, and they tear through your stuff. They put you in a little room and they tear through all your stuff. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I'm ex-military. I did 20 years in the service. And then I came to this community and I set up a small farming operation And for about the first 5 years, I never left here. I didn't. And I assumed that we lived in a country, the home of the free, you know what I mean. And then I started to find out that that wasn't true when the Department of Natural Resources issued this, and this was the declaratory ruling that stated that any pig with a straight tail or a curly tail was an invasive species and that I had to dispossess it. And I thought they were just mistaken, and I just said, well, no, I'm not going to do it because my pigs, no, they're not feral pigs. And that started a storm, you know what kind of storm, and it led to this. And those inspectors that day on the 17th did not execute the search warrant. They got bugged and they left, and I never heard from them again. So fast forward to 2017, my wife calls Jim Patton, and he says that because you refused an inspection, we're not going to issue your license, even though we cashed your check. So we didn't refuse an inspection. We didn't refuse a search warrant. We didn't do either of the two. And then he states that he would like to come here. This man is a regional director. He's high up the food chain in MDARD. And he states that he would like to come here and do an inspection with another inspector. And well, you know what that means. You know what that means. I mean, they're going to come and they're going to pick through everything and give us a long list of things. It's going to put us out of business anyway. You know, all we wanted to do is come here and make a living and take care of our kids and just farm. We're not making a hoop of money. We're just trying to live peacefully. And I did try to resolve both these issues with these agencies and was unable to do that. Now, where do we go from here? We learned a lot last time. I'm going to give you a lot of particulars as far as who's and all that stuff. I got to keep all these videos under 10 minutes. And I can tell you that the most important thing is exposure. These people, not all of them, but the ones that seem to rise to the top are the cockroaches. I'm not saying that all bureaucrats are bad. We need bureaucrats. We need them to take care of the things that we can't do while we're working, producing wealth. You know, we're the workers. They're the bureaucrats. They're supposed to pay the bills and make sure stuff's done, you know, on time and make sure the roads are fixed and things like that. But this is clearly what is defined in Webster's as tyranny, and I'll read it to you. Absolute power, especially when exercised unjustly or cruelly. Without the license that we've paid for, we cannot operate this shop. And so Jim Patton, I'm not sure if it's his brainchild. I really don't know. I thought about calling and asking him, but you know, by the time you go through all the administrative rigmarole of having our account flagged that we have to call him, and then they cash our check on top of it, I'm sure that they've made their decisions, that they have an agenda. They want to come here and inspect. And, you know, they've never, in 13 years that we've been here, they've never come and inspected. It's always, the contract was that we had an initial inspection, we meet the requirements, and then we pay our yearly fee. But now they seem to have changed the contract, and it appears that they have an agenda. They have an axe to grind. So I want to expose as much of this as quickly as possible, and I want to give some action items. A lot of times we hear about tyranny, we hear about things happening, and we say, well, what can you do? What can you do? Well, I'm going to outline what you can do. I really didn't want to get involved with the election this time, but it appears that this is going to play into the election, the coming election, very well. Okay, I'm going to keep this under 10 minutes. It's Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone could farm.